The Alice Toxaway Loop is one of the most famous loops in the Sawtooth Mountains. The Tin Cup Trailhead is located about 15 miles outside of Stanley, Idaho, alongside Pettit Lake. This loop is about 19 miles long and can be hiked in either a clockwise or counterclockwise direction. We chose to hike it in a clockwise direction, heading first towards Alice Lake. Permits are required for this hike, but they are located at this box you see here, I would guess about a half mile in, and they're free, so no worries there. The bugs were pretty bad when we came. Bring a good bug spray. I don't know that our bug spray did much, but we were definitely glad that we had it. There's lots of water on this hike, so there's lots of opportunities to refill your water. I would say that you probably have a chance at least every mile you'll come across water that you could use to pump. There were probably 5 to 7 creek crossings on the way up to Alice Lake, so I definitely recommend bringing some shoes and trekking poles to help you get across. Nothing was too deep. The deepest crossing was probably about up to our knees, and a lot of them we were able to cross by just jumping from rock to rock. At about 3 to 3.5 miles in, the trail starts to gain in elevation significantly and is pretty steep for about a mile until you get to this bridge at about 4.5 miles in, and then it begins to flatten out again. At this point, you only have about another 1.5 miles until you reach Alice Lake. We stopped at Alice Lake and decided to stretch and take pictures and enjoy a snack and hang out for a few minutes. There's definitely a lot of places you could camp, and so it's a great potential first night camping spot. Fires are not allowed on this loop, so be sure that you bring plenty of fuel for your backpacking stove. I brought an extra can and we ended up using it in the evenings to sit around as if it were a fire because we noticed that when the stove was running, it helped keep the mosquitoes away, so we were able to stay outside and enjoy the scenery just a little bit longer. About a mile past Alice Lake is Twin Lakes, and this is where we camped the first night. This was my favorite lake of the entire trip. It's very beautiful, and there are lots of fairly flat areas that you can make a really good camp. In the morning, the lake was so still that you could see the reflection of the mountains on the water perfectly, and it almost looked like an optical illusion. The water is so clear that you can see down into the bottom of the lake, and it's just absolutely breathtaking. There was still a fair amount of snow after we got up and over the pass, but it wasn't anything too difficult. About 1.5 miles down on the other side, there was a pond that we stopped at and had some lunch. It was a really beautiful spot and a great place to take a break. I would recommend calling the ranger station about a week before your trip to inquire as to trail conditions, because depending on the year, there could be areas of the trail that are snowed out. We experienced this after the pond, maybe another mile later. We lost the trail a couple of times due to snow. It wasn't too big of a deal because we were able to follow the footprints of other hikers and relocate the trail fairly quickly. There's lots of side options for this hike. There's Imogene Lake, there's some other lakes in the area, and so you can definitely extend the mileage out if you would like to. We planned on camping at Farley Lake, which was about 8 miles or so, I believe, if I remember correctly, from Twin Lakes. But when we got there, the camping was really scarce and we weren't really able to locate anywhere to camp. We saw a couple of other people camping, but it looked like there weren't very many good spots. So if you plan to camp at Farley, just be aware of this. We ended up hiking about 2 miles down further past Farley Lake, and we found a flat spot in the trees that we camped after one of the creek crossings. This worked out just fine, and in the morning we only had about 2.5 miles we had to hike out back to Pettit Lake. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.